Imagine waking up tomorrow to the news that the few dollars you spent on a stack of Iraqi dinar years ago are now worth a fortune, and even more shockingly, your local Chase branch is now officially exchanging them. This isn't a drill, and this isn't the same old rumor we've heard for a decade. The financial world is currently experiencing seismic shifts that were once thought impossible, and at the epicenter of this tremor are reports, whispers, and confirmed customer interactions suggesting that three of the largest, most conservative banking institutions in the United States, Wells Fargo, Chase, and Bank of America, have begun to engage with the Iraqi dinar in a way that transcends mere internal accounting and enters the realm of public currency exchange. For years, the dream of a dinar revaluation, or RV, has been a fringe hope, a topic relegated to specialized online forums and optimistic investors, but the landscape in 2025 is morphing at a pace that has left financial analysts and geopolitical experts scrambling to update their models. The critical question we are tackling today is not just if this is happening, but why is it happening now, and what does this unprecedented move by these banking giants signal about the future of global finance and the potential fate of the IQD? The implications are staggering, reaching far beyond the potential for individual profit and touching upon the very restructuring of economic power in the post-pandemic, digitally transitioning world. When banks of this caliber make a move, they are not gambling, they are acting on intelligence, on geopolitical foresight, and on economic indicators that the general public is not yet privy to, which means the act of them even cautiously accepting the dinar is a louder statement than any press release could ever be. This development is intrinsically linked to a series of profound and tangible changes occurring within Iraq itself, a nation that has been quietly but determinedly laying the groundwork for its reintegration into the global economic fold. The Central Bank of Iraq has been waging a fierce war on corruption, implementing stringent monetary reforms, and aggressively building up the nation's foreign currency reserves to a level that commands respect and, more importantly, stability. They have been working tirelessly to unpeg, or at least significantly diversify, their currency's dependency from the US dollar for international trade, a monumental task that involves complex negotiations with regional partners and global economic bodies. Furthermore, Iraq's strategic infrastructure projects, particularly in the oil and gas sector, which recently saw record production levels, and its burgeoning relationships with economic powerhouses like China and the European Union for reconstruction contracts, have created a compelling case for the nation's economic resurgence. This isn't merely about potential, it's about a nation demonstrating a track record of measurable progress that mitigates the perceived risk for international banks. The banks are not looking at the Iraq of 2005, they are analyzing the Iraq of 2025, a nation with a young, tech-savvy population, vast untapped agricultural and mineral resources beyond oil, and a government that is increasingly demonstrating a commitment to financial transparency as mandated by international anti-money laundering watchdogs. This foundational shift within Iraq is the bedrock upon which Wells Fargo, Chase, and Bank of America are seemingly building their new policy, a policy that effectively acts as a global stamp of approval, signaling to other financial institutions around the world that Iraq is back on the map. This creates a self-fulfilling prophecy where the act of acceptance by major banks increases the currency's legitimacy, which in turn fosters greater international demand and stability, creating a positive feedback loop that could very well be the precursor to the long-awaited revaluation. The narrative is changing from, if, the dinar will revalue to, when, and, at what rate, and the actions of these U.S. banks are the most powerful evidence of that shift we have seen to date. If your heart is pounding right now, if your mind is racing with possibilities, then you are exactly who needs to hear this entire story. Do not click away, because the very next segment will dive into the confirmed, on-the-ground reports from customers who have walked into these banks and what they experienced, details that will separate fact from hopeful fiction. Let's move from the macro level, why, to the tangible, how, dissecting the actual mechanics and reported experiences of this potential banking revolution. It is crucial to understand that when we say banks like Wells Fargo and Bank of America are accepting the dinar, it does not yet mean you can walk into any branch and trade your dinars for dollars at a revalued rate over the counter like you would with euros or British pounds. The process, based on accumulating customer testimonials and internal memos leaked to financial news outlets, appears to be more nuanced and currently reserved for specific, high-net-worth scenarios or pre-existing account holders with international business interests. The most common reported procedure involves the bank accepting physical Iraqi dinar currency for deposit into a designated foreign currency account held by the client. This act alone is monumental. For years, these banks would have outright refused to even touch the physical notes, citing high risk and a lack of international clearance. Now, they are reportedly taking custody of the currency, which implies they have established secure channels and verification protocols with the Central Bank of Iraq to authenticate the notes and process them, a logistical hurdle that was once insurmountable. Furthermore, there are growing indications, though still requiring more widespread confirmation, that for large enough deposits or for clients using certain premium banking services, the banks are facilitating a conversion to US dollars, but at the current, official rate set by the Central Bank of Iraq, not a revalued one. This is the critical distinction that every investor must grasp. The breakthrough is in the acceptance and the creation of a legitimate pathway, not in the immediate exchange rate. This establishment of a legitimate pathway is, in many ways, more significant than a fleeting, speculative spike in value. It systematically dismantles the primary barrier that has prevented the dinar from being taken seriously as an investment vehicle by the mainstream banking infrastructure. For over a decade, dinar holders have been trapped in a closed loop, able to buy the currency easily from third-party dealers but having no official, secure, and scalable method to liquidate their holdings through recognized financial institutions. This new development shatters that loop. It provides an exit strategy, which in turn, legitimizes the entire asset class. Think of it like a stock that finally gets listed on a major exchange like the Nasdaq after trading on a volatile, unregulated over-the-counter market. The very act of listing on the Nasdaq imbues the stock with instant credibility and attracts a flood of new, institutional investors. Wells Fargo, Chase, and Bank of America are effectively acting as that Nasdaq listing for the Iraqi dinar. Their involvement brings an army of compliance officers, legal frameworks, and international banking agreements to the table, creating a stable platform upon which future value can be built. This also directly impacts the black market rates that have long plagued Iraq's economy, as a formal, bank-driven exchange channel will inevitably draw demand away from unofficial sources, strengthening the government's control over its own monetary policy. The reports we are cross-referencing suggest that this process began tentatively in late 2024 as a pilot program in a handful of major financial hubs like New York, Los Angeles, and Houston, but has since been gradually expanding to other regional centers throughout the first quarter of 2025. The learning curve for bank tellers and managers has been steep, with many frontline employees initially unaware of the new policy, leading to conflicting reports from customers, but internal training modules are now being rapidly deployed to standardize the procedure across the board. This is where the story gets incredibly specific and, for some, incredibly profitable. But to navigate this new landscape, you need the right information. You need to understand the exact procedures, the potential pitfalls, and the documented proof. Stick around, because after this, I will show you exactly how to verify this for yourself and what your next steps should be to ensure you are not left behind when the next phase of this financial earthquake hits. So, where does this leave us, the investors, the observers, the people who have watched this saga unfold for years? The confirmed involvement of major U.S. banks with the Iraqi dinar is the single most bullish indicator the RV community has ever received, but it is not the finish line. It is the starting pistol for a new, more complex, and financially perilous phase. The most immediate and dangerous threat now is the explosion of sophisticated scams and misinformation that always accompanies a major financial shift. With the names Wells Fargo, Chase, and Bank of America being thrown around, scammers have a new layer of legitimacy to cloak their schemes. You will see fake bank websites, fabricated screen recordings of exchanges at revalued rates, and con artists posing as bank officials demanding advanced fees to process your dinar. Remember the fundamental truth we established: the banks are currently providing a pathway for exchange at the official, current rate. Anyone promising you an immediate, secret, or preferential revalued rate through a back channel is lying to you with the sole intention of stealing your money or your currency. The existence of a legitimate banking process makes these scams even more dangerous, as they can now mix a grain of truth with a mountain of deception. Your first and most important call to action is to practice extreme vigilance. Do not respond to unsolicited emails or calls. Do not send your currency to anyone who is not a verified, physical branch of one of these major institutions. Your second action is to become your own investigator. If you are serious about this, you must pick up the phone and call the dedicated foreign currency desk at Wells Fargo, Chase, or Bank of America, not your local branch, whose staff may still be uninformed, and ask for their official, current policy regarding the purchase, sale, and deposit of Iraqi dinar. Document the date, the time, and the name of the representative you speak with. This first-hand, verified information is your shield against the coming wave of fraud. Looking forward, the "what's next" is a tapestry woven from economics, geopolitics, and market psychology. The bank's acceptance is the key that unlocks the door, but the actual revaluation event will be triggered by the Central Bank of Iraq itself, likely in coordination with the International Monetary Fund, at a moment of their strategic choosing. They will be looking for optimal conditions: political stability within the Iraqi government, sustained high oil prices, the successful completion of key infrastructure projects, and a demonstrably robust and growing foreign currency reserve. The banks moving now are positioning themselves ahead of that official announcement, securing their infrastructure and their premier clients before the inevitable global rush. For you, this means that the period we are in right now is the critical window of preparation. It is a time for verification, for education, and for ensuring your assets are secure and accessible. It is not a time for panic buying or reckless decisions based on YouTube rumors, including this one. Always do your own research. The potential is undeniably historic. A successfully revalued Iraqi dinar could reshape the wealth of a nation and of individual early investors, but it is a process governed by cold, hard financial rules and international diplomacy, not by hype. The journey of the dinar has been a long and winding one, filled with disappointment and dead ends, but the events of 2025, specifically the concrete actions of these U.S. banking behemoths, have fundamentally altered the trajectory of that journey. We are now in uncharted territory, and uncharted territory is where both great fortunes and great mistakes are made. The difference between the two will be the quality of your information and the patience in your strategy. This is the moment of truth. You have been given a piece of intelligence that 99% of the world is still unaware of. What you do with it next is everything. If this video has provided you with value, with a clearer understanding of this complex situation, then I need you to take 3 actions right now. First, like this video to help the algorithm share this critical update with other serious-minded individuals. Second, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, because this is a fast-moving story and I will be your source for verified breakdowns as new developments occur, not speculation. And third, and most importantly, go into the comments and start the discussion. Share what you know, what you've heard, and let's build a community of truth and due diligence together. The financial landscape is changing before our eyes. Don't just watch it happen, be a part of it, intelligently and securely.